Featured Drum Bearings Part 7. We're ready to remove the bearing housing. At this point you can remove all of the nuts and bolts that hold the bearing housing in the back of the machine. It's possible to do it by yourself, but it's a lot easier with one person on the other side holding the bolt while you pull the nuts off this end. Once those are out, you can go ahead and take your half 13 bolts here and put them in the jack holes. You'll find there's 3 threaded holes next to the through holes in the housing. And you're going to want to, in a pattern, tighten them all a little bit at a time. Now that we have this out, we can go ahead and remove the lip seals. You're just going to want a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. Go ahead right on the outer edge of the seal here. Get the screwdriver in there. There's 2 seals, so you don't want to go too deep. You just want to get the first one and the second one. Now at this point, you're going to want to check the housing and see there's a lot of built up rust and corrosion in here. If you can scrape any of that out, it'll make driving the bearing out a whole lot easier. You can either use your screwdriver or go ahead and take the wire wheel in here if it's real bad and buff the whole thing out. But if you got the worst of it out, we can go ahead and drive out the bearings. You can do this in a press if you're set up for it. If not, you can use a big sledgehammer and a shaft. I actually cut part of the trunnion off of a Dexter DL2X30 dryer. Go ahead and take that. Back bearing's a lot easier to drive out first. I'd start with that one. Go ahead and get your shaft in there. Now be careful doing this and bracing it in place like you don't want to break your ankles. Just tap it. And after a few, you're going to want to rotate it around. There you go. One bearing out. You're going to want to hang on to that. Check the number on the bearing against your new bearings. Make sure they're the same. Now you can go ahead and stand this guy up. Drive out the other bearing. Again, rotate it around so it doesn't get cocked in there at an angle. Check your progress. Alright, let's get in there. Alright, that's flush with the bottom now. So you can either support it on some square tube steel to drive it out the rest of the way, or just prop it up a little and tap it out like the first bearing. There we go. Same thing, hang on to that bearing. Check the number against your new bearing. Now you're going to want to take your housing over to a bench. This part's very important. Use your grinder with the cup wire wheel and you're going to want to polish all of this. This surface has to be perfect. This inner surface here, top here, all very shiny and clean. You want to get the drill with the wire wheel down in here. Clean all of this out. Use a piece of wire, whatever you have, to clean out the 2 weep holes there. You do not want those plugged. And usually the back end's pretty clean here, but it doesn't hurt to hit it with the wire wheel. Make sure the whole thing's nice and clean before we reassemble it.